Welcome back everyone to TNO Sudwestafrika. And so, last time the war with South Africa has begun. Now, our current situation is that we do not want this war to sort of escalate out too far. By which I mean that I don't want South Africa to fall, actually. Which puts me in a kind of weird situation. So I'm in a war that I don't really want to win, because that wouldn't be in our interests, and you may know what I'm talking about with the Hutig big brain memento. Yeah, let's just say that there can be a lot of problems that come out of winning this. Now we need more. What the fuck is this? It's a close air support, I think. Okay, need more close air supports. Produce more. Come on. There is it. There we go. And we still got our glorious focus tree to run through, which is gonna take a long while. So I am gonna do a bit of ooh, what the hell? Yes, I do not know what's going on. But yeah, basically, I'm gonna advance a little bit on South Africa, just to get into a good defensive position, but afterwards I am not going to actually attack out of it. I am gonna let the war sort of... Oh, come on. Yes, I'm already... Wait, what do you mean? Oh, no, okay. I am gonna let the war take its own course. What the fuck? Oh, okay, that's just my allies doing their thing. That's just my allies doing their finger. And yeah, I basically want to have an army in a relatively decent defensive position that I can redeploy if need arises. I don't want to get capitulated, but I also don't want South Africa to die too quickly. So that's going to be what's going to happen. Schenk hunched over his desk, pen in hand. It was an unusual sight. The Reichskommissar, who was famous for his flights, suddenly grounded, his wings clipped. Schenk detested paperwork in all its forms. Whether it be accounting, bookkeeping, or simple matter of administrative issues, he relegated it as much as possible. He realized that he had become a sort of a pretty face that hung above his Reichskommissariat, but he did not give enough of a care to that fact. Today was inevitable in retrospect. Even without the Americans' denial of gun shipments over to his fiefdom, he would have needed to take a long, straight look at the commissariat's finances. Of course, today's focus was revamping his secret project. The Americans have thrown it off course, necessitating a correction. However, Schenk would not be a good pilot without the benefit of foresight. He had to take some pills for his nerves, however. His feet were restless. Schenk realized that he had mountains of work to do. He sighed. The papers in front of him had waited for work for years. He heard the aides in the next room, an excellent set of lads from the wombs of Germany herself. They were partying, while he had to make precise clerical entries. Gritting his teeth, his hands moved slowly. The din was distracting him, and he had to concentrate. Why, he asked himself, did all mainlanders present themselves as savages? It was going to be a long day, and he had to account for the weapons and supplies needed to get the secret project back on track. Schenk only wished for himself some peace and quiet. When one has got to make the correct entries, one comes to hate those savages. Hate them to death. So, it seems like America declines. I'm not sure exactly what this means. It doesn't seem like the talks have completely broken down. So I don't know exactly what this is supposed to be telling me, but we'll see. We'll continue our secret war very, very soon. Now, as for the not very secret war, well, the South Africans are doing very, very well on the Eastern Front. That's where they have some armored divisions. They are starting to break into our good friend Hutig's lines a little bit. But Muller, Central Africa, has naval invaded near Cape Town, which is something that he seems to love to do. And we are pushing in the west enough to prevent essentially worse issues from arising. I want to keep the war as a stalemate as long as possible. So yeah, anyway, fueling the rebellion. Okay, here we go. 25% of production, Mr. Lansdale, Schenk said, fuming. He had to let his nerves go out of control. That is such a ridiculous rate. The Reichskommissariat surely cannot grant your request. Mr. Lansdale, there is siphoning off the margins, and then there is outright theft. If the other commissars hear of this, the Fuhrer will have my head and rank, and thenceforth you shall have no one to recognize with. Schenk took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. Herr Schenk, the voice said, attempting a diplomatic and friendly tone, these are not my terms. Instead, think of it as a price, an exchange. Schenk's fingers clacked on the table and his feet became ever more restless. America entered these clandestine talks with the single aim of aiding you. If you're not inclined to give what she has written as her terms, her limits, there won't be no point in any negotiations. You are reasonable, Herr Schenk, an ace, a war hero. America could not have chosen a better partner. The voice paused as if to emphasize the next point. What she cannot gain through words, she can gain through force. Remember, Mr. Schenk. Yes, I understand. His leverage taken away from him, leaving him deflated and wheezing. However, surely we have a way of negotiating the rates. 25 is too much. That's your problem, Herr Schenk. I am not your friend, and at this stage, neither is America. Either you agree or you don't. So, what would it be? The Reichskommissar put down the receiver and cracked his fingers. Hello, Herr Schenk? He considered his answer. Either 25% it is, or unacceptable. Okay, this is gonna definitely increase suspicions. Okay, so our base gain is 40... oh wow. So we produce how much oil? 18. That's more than 25%. Fucking piece of shit. So if we extract 18 oil, it's way more than 25%. That's more like 50%. Fine, 25% it is. So, we're in it to win it. Let's see how this pans out. Wolfgang Schenk leaned back into the leather chair in his dimly lit office. The hour was late, yet he had no desire to leave his office. He lacked the will to carry himself away. Fumbling as he uncorked a bottle of whiskey, he pressed the bottle to his lips and began to down as much of the toxic liquid as he could. Breaking into a cough as his throat felt as if it had been ignited, Schenk placed the bottle back onto his desk alongside other forms of empty alcohol bottles. He needed to forget. Why would God simply not allow him to forget? Schenk lingered upon the thought as he pounded back another swig of whiskey, breaking again only to hack another series of coughs. What would it take to forget? In a depressive bout, he thought of the atrocities he had signed off over the course of his career. Decent people killed, men, women, even children alike. So many were unable to escape the fuses of his bombs or the barrels of his rifles. He wondered if it would make any difference if they knew he did not wish for any of this. Schenk took another burning sip of his drink, tears now rolling down freely his face. No, he thought to himself, this wasn't his fault. He never wished for any of this. None of the horrors in Africa were of his volition. They were all orders from Germania. One after another, the orders flood in, mandating atrocities, ruining lives, killing thousands. Wolfgang Schenk could not live with himself one day further if he continued following orders as he did. He would take the fate of the African continent into his own hands. Far above and beyond the blood-soaked sands of South Africa's battlefields, an unsung war simmers. In the cities and fields, cells of freedom fighters strike under night's cover and in day's exposure, wearing war and smuggled uniforms and carrying gifts from their benefactors in faraway America. Vengeance is their watchword, liberation is their war cry, and the blood of fascists their gruesome calling card. Ammo caches, airfields, officers, homes, no targets are spared from wrath long repressed and justly deserved. On clear blue sky do the Luftwaffe fly fewer sorties, and when they soar to where their grace is needed least. "Where are the Stukas?" cry commandants in radio rooms filled with static noise, and a flash later scattered dirt and bomb shrapnel. Trusted to turn the tide of the war, the fearsome Knights of the Reich were instead found wanting by many corpses who lost its battles below. Desperate generals wonder if air support will ever be a given, rather than a dying wish. And in Windhoek's mansion's basement, a German listens to communiques and messages from 100 men in 100 places. Angola, the Congo, Mozambique, Langley Field. All operations are underway, they assure. A little more wet work and misdirection. Some more cracks in the fetid behemoth, and Africa will be free. Bleeding and rabid, but free. Schenk slouched heavy against his chair, dripping sweat from all pores. Despite the weight of a continent bearing upon him, the Reichskommissar of Sudwestafrika cracked a grin. Soon, a penitent man sighs, Africa will be free. We will begin our subversive operations against Hüttig and Müller. As peace returns to Germany, they really need to rebalance this German Civil War. It's, well, I mean, okay, right, it's still the pre-release version, but Bormann wins too easily all the time. Anyway, so we are going down the secret war path. I have been advised to take the Yankee connection with the, essentially beginning the talks with the Americans as soon as possible. And I've realized that a clear conscience, you do not need all of these things finished. So after that, we're gonna take the sabotage focuses, and or well, maybe it's not gonna be necessary. Who knows? And then afterwards, we're gonna try to take the Audacity of Our Hope tree and finish that as quickly as possible, so that we can, you know, go down this path before anything happens. Now, the state of the war. Actually, it seems like they have kind of rebalanced the South African War a little bit. It seems like... Can we actually attack here? It's not looking all too good. It seems like the South African War is now a little bit more in the favor of the South Africans, so I'm gonna have to do some work, it seems, because right now, the Germans are on the receiving end of a shitload of punishment. The Americans have actually sent in at least one division for volunteers to support South Africa, so, oh, there we go. Oh, right. So, because the German Civil War is over, we have a few more troops to play around with. So if this is all gonna be necessary, we actually have men sent to the front line to stop the Americans from being too strong. Because we don't want, for example, the Boers to fall too quickly. We don't want Ostafrika to die too quickly, because otherwise that's gonna just mean that essentially South Africa and the Americans are gonna get too strong, and we don't want that either. Anyway, Hermann had trained with the Gewehr 41 for weeks, and like every other boy in the von Leutwen Company, he was ready and eager to use it. When Ucho's radio lines died in a terrorist attack and the Americana planes soared overhead, one of the local officials had rallied all the young German men in town into a militia. They had grabbed every gun they could and make makeshift shrapnel minas from old mining equipment. These Ersatz explosives now laid under the dirt road outside town, as the company hid among the dry bush of the flat, red Namibian landscape. I'm guessing this is happening basically in this far southern portion of Namibia that has been occupied by South Africa. A colossal bang caught Hermann and every other boy's attention. They cheered as they charged from their position, jubilant at getting a kill. "We're back on Americana," they thought. Hermann's own good cheer died when they approached the roadside, for next to a crater laid the mangled wreck of a truck, an Opel truck, and its bloody gory contents. Blood, dust, and metal wafted in the breeze as an SS officer, clothes torn and forehead gushing a stream of blood, stood beside his dead truck and dying men. The crazed man's eyes, in his following outbursts, would haunt the boy to his grave. "What have you done?" Okay. So we're getting a ton of events because of all of this. Looks like there's a bit of friendly fire going on. Anyway, so here we go. We have the Yankee connection completed. I wonder if we have to complete... so our talks with the Americans, I wonder if we have to complete all of these focuses for the talks with the Americans. Anyway, in the meantime, we are gonna start to sabotage our good friends in the other arcades. Our savior in red, white, and blue. Oh, okay, this does not seem like talks, actually, so we're gonna go ahead and continue that for now. After so many years of cruelty and repression, the people of Angola have finally something of an ally in Reichskommissar Schenk. However, as dedicated as the Reichskommissar may be to making right as many wrongs, the danger of discovery and destruction grows greater every passing day. Müller will turn on us, even if the slightest hint of a threat to his chances of profit ever reaches his nose, while what Hüttig might do if he finds evidence to confirm his long-held paranoia doesn't even bear thinking about. If we are able to succeed in liberating Africa... What should we do? Okay, we should do this. Liberating Africa, liberating the people of Angola, we must act firmly, quickly, and above all in concert with our allies. The Americans have already been a great help in our liberation project, but for it to have any chance of success, we must bring the Yanks in on every level. Soon, not only will American spies use Sudwestafrika bases in order to sabotage the German war effort, but they'll have access to our flight patterns, forewarning of both German fighter and bomber takeoffs, and of course assistance in preparing the handover of the nation to Angolan liberation forces in one fell swoop. The day that the people of the region are finally free from Nazi tyranny draws ever nearer, as does Schenk's redemption. If we're careful, if we're lucky, we will be remembered in this land as something more than just evil once we're done. We must trust the Americans! Of course. Oh, because Germany is back, we have to send them money. Right. This is a bit of a problem, because we don't have that much money. And the only way we get more money is by pissing off Germany. So Germany is going to be forever pissed off, even though this is not like really that big of a problem. I'd rather not have this, but oh well. We can continue doing our industrialization with our money. That's amazing. That is amazing. We can industrialize Angola. I do like that. Give me some civilian factories. And yes, so in the meantime, we're still gonna keep our sort of financial dealings afloat. Anyway, a special day. The 500th ton of ordnance dropped on perfidious South Africa since the war began. So basically, there's fake bombs. There's fake bombs being dropped into South Africa from our planes. Amazing, quite amazing. Anyway, yeah, the war seems to have stalemated a little bit. We're still flying our Air Force. We've lost 4 fighters. The enemy has lost 13 fighters. So we're still holding, like, we're doing part of our part. There's no gameplay reasons, actually, for me to participate in the war at all. I should just be letting my allies take care of everything, but I don't know, I guess I'm just role-playing, you know, giving a little bit of, giving in a little bit of effort to avoid too much, you know, suspicion or whatever. I'm being a true secret agent. That is also a game mechanic. However, it's gonna happen essentially when we do like sabotage. There is a suspicion mechanic where essentially Hüttig is not very suspicious and Müller is not suspicious at all. I'm guessing that basically if suspicions run too high, we might get overthrown. And we have to keep the suspicion down, or actually there's also a suspicion meter that reduces our resource output, our division organization and division defense, so a few things. And to avoid too much suspicion, we can do things like sending in resources to help them out. Anyway, Pashe. utter genius. Should pause and read this. I will do so only when I edit the video because I don't have time right now. Anyway, I've actually run out of things. Curse of the Mountains. Yeah, I've mostly run out of things to talk about, so as the story of Colonial Garnison Regiment 17 unfolds, I will take my bow and wait for important things to happen, like the under the table deals. So see you in a little bit. Reichskommissar Schenk was, to all outward appearances, a self-assured, competent war hero. In his office, however, where no hide pride, he leaned over his desk, staring at the phone, waiting for it to ring. He tapped his fingers, his legs restless and begging him to move. Rivulets of cold sweat traveled down his face, leaving stark bright trails against the orange light of the savannah's setting sun. Soon, night would fall, and the appointed hour would arrive. Where is the call? A ring. Expectantly, Schenk lifted the receiver, only to drop it with a grunt. I don't care. Handle it however you want. He put his cool hands against each other and then parted them, his anxiety coating his hands with perspiration. Where are they? He looked at his watch. It's past 6. Herr Schenk? A soldier's voice said from beyond the door. Are you alright? Your office is dark, sir. Yes, yes. Lighting was a secondary concern. Where is the call? A ring. He picked the phone up with enthusiasm. Hello? He said, his voice barely containing his excitement. Is this the Sudwestafrika Gulf Oil Company? A man's voice answered him. The American accent on his German was palpable enough to throw Schenk off. Yes, this is Herr Reichskommissar Schenk. This is about the matter we discussed yesterday, you see. If you're not, could you redirect me to him? Yes, this is Schenk. Perfect. This is Lansdale. Shall we continue the talks we held yesterday regarding our policy of closer cooperation? The Fuhrer would kill him for this, but he had no other choice. Yes. What would you like to talk about? Thus, in the dark of the night, a clandestine plan was hatched. What does the Reichskommissar plan to do?